Welcome back to the Back and Forth Podcast, the second episode here. This episode, by the way, look at our new studios here.
Yeah, our production room was a little under
We went out
construction.
and bought a $5.6 million office, so this is our new our new studios. But this episode will be the way too early NBA season preview for next season. We're not going to go through every team. You know, no one cares what the Suns are going to do. Probably be 13th, have the number one pick next year. Go Phoenix. So we'll go through basically the top teams in each conference and, you know, who's going to come out of each conference. So I'll start off within the Western Conference here. And, you know, to me it's about a between like a 3-5 team race, and that's the teams I'm going to go through here. Number one would probably be the Los Angeles Clippers. They're going to be the team to beat in that conference. You know, when you have a team of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, if you're anything less than a 2 seed, you know, I think Doc Rivers should probably lose his job. But Doc Rivers is a good coach. You know, he's won championships, and he took that Clippers team this year to the playoffs, which a lot of teams, you know, a lot of sports bettors did not have them going anywhere near. In fact, their over-under last year for wins was 34.5, I believe. So my voice keeps cracking. You know, at the second spot here, I'm going to put the Utah Jazz. People call me crazy on that one, but you have Mike Conley, you have Donovan Mitchell, Joe Ingles, Bogdan Bogdanovic, and Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert, All-NBA team member, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. Bogdan Bogdanovic can play that 3-4 spot, gives him good shooting. Joe Ingles, another lights-out shooter. Donovan Mitchell, who's the face of that franchise, this guy goes out and drops you 21 points a game, working on his shooting as well. Not that he's a bad shooter, but he can definitely improve. You have Mike Conley, who's a pass-first point guard, and can also give you 12 assists and 15 points. You have Emmanuel Mudiay, who they signed, and Ed Davis, so they have some depth as well. And have a great coach in Quinn Snyder. They won 51 games last year without Conley, Bogdanovic, Mudiay, and Ed Davis. Those are 4 great pickups this offseason. That team is going to be very good. They will be better than the Lakers. Mark my words on that. Third spot, though, will be the Los Angeles Lakers. You have LeBron James, you have Anthony Davis, and you have some solid role players. And yeah, I'm going to call DeMarcus Cousins a role player based off what we see in these last few years from him. Come at me, but what did he do last year for the Warriors? I mean, you can ask Alex here, who's a Warriors fan. You know, he just wasn't the same DeMarcus Cousins. He may make that full recovery and be a good player next year. I don't know, but from what I know right now, he's a role player. You have a good young player, obviously, in Kyle Kuzma. Yeah, Danny Green, who's a good 3-and-D player, so nothing less. I will give the Lakers credit here. They are a 3rd seed. 4th seed would be for me the Denver Nuggets. You know, actually they may be the 3rd seed, and I may put the Lakers. That may flip. I could flip that maybe. The Nuggets were 2nd seed last year, and they have a great young core: Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, Michael Porter Jr., Jokic, and then they also have some good veterans in Paul Millsap. And they also have, I believe, off the bench, I can't think here, my mind has gone brain dead, but they have good depth on this team. They have great young players. Will Barton, sorry, I forgot, I can't think of him. Will Barton's another great player who's been with the Nuggets, I believe, his whole career. Yeah, again, this team was a 2nd seed last year and won 57 games. They may take that 3rd spot. For now, I'll say the Lakers, because you do have LeBron and Anthony Davis. So the Nuggets will have that 4th spot. And the 5th here, I will give to the Portland Trailblazers. Yeah, Damian Lillard, C.J. McCollum. They went out and got Kent Bazemore. That was a great trade. They traded Evan Turner for Kent Bazemore. Very good trade. Kent Bazemore is obviously more productive. They went out and got Hassan Whiteside, and they'll have Yusuf Nurkic coming back fully healthy next season. And they also have good depth off the bench. You have Nasir Little and Anthony Simmons, who've had fairly good summer leagues, and that's also some good role players. They lost Jake Layman, who I know my friend Will is a big fan of. So that's a key piece who lost off the bench. But, nothing less. They still have a good team there, so I'll put them at that 5th seed. So, Matt, you can do 8 teams, but I'm just going to do 5. I think those are the 5 teams that have the best shot at winning it.
Yeah, I'll go 5 too. Top 3, pretty much consistent for the most part. I got the Clippers number 1. Like you said, you got a team of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. One who was a regular season MVP finalist. Another was the MVP of the NBA Finals just recently. Plus, not to mention all the depth, and you have the reigning 6th man of the year on your team coming off the bench, and Lou Williams. And I believe they also.
I didn't put the Rockets. I'm gonna go hot take here. Rockets are 6th in my. I don't know how Westbrook and those are 2 ball dominant guys. Right. I don't know.
I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, I got Clippers number 1, they got really good depth, 2 unbelievable players. That's the team to beat. Number 2, I like the Utah Jazz. I do agree with the Jazz. I think that's always a good team they're kind of a surprise team. Nobody really sees them necessarily coming, but they always do stuff that people don't expect. Like they always win games that you're like, wow, I didn't expect the Jazz to win. That's just how they've been normally. Now you've added more pieces, and not to mention if you have to go to Utah in a playoff series and they got home court advantage, that's a hostile place to go play.
Yeah, their fans are
that's a very
degenerates, but
it's a very tough place to go play.
Yeah, it's loud, nothing less.
So I got them at number 2. Number 3, I'm gonna go Denver here. I'm gonna go the Denver Nuggets. They're only gonna get better. That team was young last year. They're still gonna be relatively young, but they're gonna be a little more experienced, more I think better than the Lakers. They've got a more dynamic team. They can.
We're not big Laker fans, if you guys can't tell.
Obviously Jokic, who in that Portland series, he was unbelievable.
I mean, he needs to cut weight and get better defensively, but he's a great player.
Yeah, he's a great offensive player for sure. You've got Jamal Murray, who's obviously a really good talent as well. I really like that team. I think they're number 3. Number 4, I'm going to give it to the Portland Trailblazers. I think
you are not a.
I think that when you look at it, I think the Portland Trailblazers have better shooting and they got a lot more depth. I think, and that's going to matter when you get to the playoffs. I think you've got obviously Damian Lillard, who played out of his mind, especially in the playoffs last year. CJ McCollum, who got re-signed. That's a huge signing. You keep that duo together, and you still got Nurkic, right?
Yusuf Nurkic.
Yusuf Nurkic coming back off of injury, who's obviously we saw last year with the Trailblazers, they were able to make that big spot work. It always, I believe, whether it was Zach Collins or whoever they had in that spot, they seemed to really flourish, especially in that playoff series that I remember watching. It was a very good system. I think that they're going to get the number 4 spot. I'm going to put Lakers 5 because they, like you said, they do have LeBron, they do have Anthony Davis. I'm wondering how long they're going to hold up though. Because you do have some injury concerns.
The Warriors could be a dark horse team that could sneak.
That's the truth. I mean, that's
depends how. I don't know how Curry's just going to do with himself, D'Angelo, and Draymond. Because I don't know how that's going to fit. But if Klay comes back and is productive, they could sneak into that top 5. But right now, I'm going to have them about. They'll be a playoff team. They're in that 7-6 spot, I think, with the Rockets. People may call us crazy for that, but 2 ball dominant guys.
Yeah. So I definitely got Lakers. My only concern is LeBron just came off his first major injury last year, and Anthony Davis is somewhat injury prone. Are they going to be able to stay healthy long term? And also, I do like that you mentioned the Rockets. The Rockets are going to be an interesting team. They could be anywhere from 8th to 1st, really. They could honestly be a first place at best case scenario if it works out to like the absolute fullest. And even then, I don't think that's going to work.
And people would kind of bugs me a little bit. People are like, oh, Russell Westbrook and James Harden, fitted perfectly in 2012 Oklahoma City Thunder team.
Those were 2 different players back then.
2 different players back then. And for people who don't know, James Harden was a 6th man when he used to play for the Houston Rockets. For the Thunder, and averaged like 14, 15 points a game. Yeah. And Westbrook was in his 2nd year in the league. It was completely different then. Now these guys are. Look at it. They're the most. They flip back and forth to the most ball dominant players every year.
Yeah, realistically, I'll give the Houston Rockets like the 7th seed because you have the 2 most highest usage rate players on the team on the floor at the same time. That's going to get sketchy. You're going to see a lot of blame getting thrown around. Oh, it's Harden's fault. It's Westbrook's fault. Obviously, they've not been good. We saw Harden in that playoff series against Golden State absolutely crumble, especially late in the game. He was an absolute shell of himself. And Westbrook in the playoffs, I don't think we need to go far deep into that. We call him Westbrook for a reason.
Mr. 8, what was it? What did he shoot one game? Did he shoot like 9 of 40 one game or something?
And then the media was trying to make excuses for him, saying he was exhausted and he just wasn't good.
Yeah. So now we'll go to the top 5 teams in the East. Number 1 is the Milwaukee Bucks. They lost. They may make the case they lost Mirotic and Malcolm Brogdon, but they still retained Eric Bledsoe. They gave him an extension, I believe, like in March. They brought back Chris Middleton. They brought back Brook Lopez, and they were able to get Brook Lopez's brother, Robin Lopez, to help him with the depth a little bit. Hopefully Dante DiVincenzo shows his potential a little bit because they're going to need him to show that this year because he's probably going to be the 7th, 6th man on that team this year. You have Pat Covington who's going to make an impact. They brought back George Hill. They got a solid bench. And you have Giannis. He is 23 years old. and he is definitely not at his full potential.
Oh, yeah.
You do not see players hit their prime until 28, 29, 27
And he's already
years
the
old.
league MVP.
Yeah, he's already league MVP at 23 years old. He is, he is an amazing player. The Bucks are going to be the first seed in the Eastern Conference this year. Second seed, this gets interesting. For now, I'm going to say if Victor Oladipo comes back in November like he's supposed to and plays the way he's supposed to, I'll put the Indiana Pacers in the second seed. That is a good team they have there. They have a great coach in Nate McMillan. They went out and got Malcolm Brogdon, and they went out and got T.J. Warren, who's another great player. They got T.J. Warren for nothing, basically. You have Victor Oladipo. You have Dante Sabonis. You have Miles Turner. They have a great team. That is the second seed in the Eastern Conference right now. Third seed, I'm going to put the Boston Celtics. I like the Kemba Walker signing, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Gordon Hayward, who I think will have a bounce back. I don't know if he'll be Utah Gordon Hayward, but he'll be better than last year Gordon Hayward. He'll have that full year off. I guess he's cut weight and he's had a good offseason so far. You have Kenner. They also have more guys off the bench like Romeo Langford, Marcus Smart, Grant Williams. They have a good bench depth as well. Semi Ojeleye, Daniel Tice, Carson Edwards. Fourth seed, I'm going to go the Philadelphia 76ers. They also Philly can also be third, second, and Boston can follow that fourth spot. The second through 4 or 5 gets really confusing and interesting. The Sixers, you have Ben Simmons, Josh Richardson, Tobias Harris, Al Horford, Joel Embiid. Losing J.J. Redick and Jimmy Butler are going to hurt. People are going to be like, hey, well, did this team take the Raptors to 7 games last year? They got closer than the Bucks, essentially. Yeah, well, you just lost Jimmy Butler and J.J. Redick, and you replaced them with Tobias Harris and Al Horford. So they don't have any shooting, and I think that's going to hurt them in the long run. So I have, again, that's another team I have a lot of question marks with. If you're going to count on Al Horford to be your primary shooter, yeah, you already have issues. And my fifth seed here will probably be the Brooklyn Nets. They may not have Kyrie, but they may not have KD, but you have Kyrie, Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, DeAndre Jordan. They have a good team. That team still made the playoffs last year, and that may be because of D'Angelo Russell, but you still add an all-star player on Kyrie Irving. You add DeAndre Jordan, and those young players are only going to get better. They also brought in Garrett Temple and a couple other guys off the bench. You have Jared Allen still, too. They have a good team. They'll be a fifth seed this year in the East. So who are your top 5?
Number 1, obviously, no doubt here, Milwaukee Bucks. You got Giannis coming off an MVP season, playing out of his mind. You were able to keep Chris Middleton, and still got some other pieces in there. I don't see much fall off from there. Yeah, you did lose Mirotic and Brogdon, but even then, I don't see much fall off from the Bucks, and especially in the Eastern Conference, where it doesn't seem to me as competitive. It seems like it almost got a little bit weaker as far as the conference. More teams.
The East is weak.
But I would say weaker than last year.
The teams 1 through 5 can really win. It's up for grabs.
Yeah. Number 2, I'm going to go Boston Celtics. I think there's more.
I appreciate that.
I'm going to go more I do kind of agree somewhat with the Pacers, but there is a little uncertainty with Victor Oladipo. We're just not.
He did suffer a bad injury, but they said his rehab's going great and everything. So I put my faith in Oladipo.
Yeah, that's where I just pumped the brakes just a little. I do feel like he is going to come back fully healthy, but we're just not quite sure until we see him on the court.
And even now, they still have a great team.
Yeah, but no, I think Boston. You've got Kemba, who's got a way better attitude than Kyrie ever did with Boston. You've got, I think, Jason Tatum, he's gonna have a better season. He did have a little bit of a down season last year. He's gonna get better.
That's crazy because he's 21 years old, and a down season for a 21-year-old is 16 points a game.
Yeah, compared to his first season where he was just lighting it up.
Yeah.
I think he does have a better season this year. Jaylen Brown, I think, starts playing a little bit better.
He played really well towards the end of the year last year, and I think that momentum's going to carry.
Yeah, and I mean, even losing Aaron Baines and Al Horford at the big spot, I think you still recover from that. Especially in this type of NBA where it's a more shooters league, you can get away with really not having much of a big. I like Boston. There's a little more certainty there. I like them at number 2 if they play to their potential. I'd go 3 Indiana Pacers, like you said, still a very good team, and they could even slide to that 2, like you said, if Victor Oladipo comes back fully healthy, like we expect. But 3, just in case there's something a little off, that's still a good team. That's still a top 5 team easily. I got them at 3 just for now. And number 4, yeah, I'll probably go with the 76ers. It's not a very versatile team. And I think if they have to see somebody like a Milwaukee or a Boston in a playoff series,
If they
it's gonna
face
go
Milwaukee, I really think Milwaukee can either sweep them or beat them in 5 games just with their shooting.
I'd make the same case for Boston too. I think
Yeah.
you could.
I don't think
say-
Boston 5 games in 6 maybe.
I
It just
think-
I mean, hey, if Ben Simmons starts learning how to shoot threes
I
and
definitely-
Josh Richardson and Tobias Harris improve at the 3 and everyone, if they can go out and shoot threes, that is a good team. But for now, they don't have any shooters.
I would say I doubt they go and learn that. I mean, Ben Simmons just got paid a month.
They said Ben Simmons has been working on his jump shot, but I also heard that last year. So
We've heard that
don't
since he
know.
was in college. He's been working on his jump shot.
So we'll see.
Maybe he's
They could arguably be first. We don't know. Like Philly could just dominate getting the ball inside. Like we do. Like that's what's crazy about this year. The first time in the NBA in a while, we just don't know. You know, the Pelicans may.
I don't
be
know.
the
I just
first
feel like
seed,
they chose the wrong. I thought that they should have heavily pursued Butler, even if it meant losing some more
I
guys.
think Butler just wanted to go to Miami.
Yeah, I don't know.
So who's 5th?
Fifth, this gets interesting because this is what you're talking about. Like 2nd through 5th, you might as well flip a coin or throw a dart at a board because that's about what you're going to get out of the East.
Brooklyn.
You know what? I'm going to go surprise team here. I'm going to say the Heat. I think Jimmy Butler, that could work. It doesn't have a lot of pieces to it yet, but I feel like there's still even
Dragic was an all-star, by the way,
Dragic?
a couple years ago.
And
Dragic.
and if
and
they're-
he'll be healthy this year.
And if they're somehow able to acquire Chris Paul, there's talks about that. We're not sure how.
I would start just
how true
my
that
the
is,
UNLV
but
fan of me. I would start Derrick Jones Jr.
He did show some good flashes.
He got 8 points a
Great
game in
Yeah.
19 minutes last year. That guy needs some minutes.
Yeah, I think the Heat's an interesting team, and with the Eastern Conference being so wide open, I think they have a chance to get to that 5th spot.
Yeah.
So
the Heat. So that wraps up our NBA way too early season preview. Next, we'll be diving into the NBA Summer League, which just wrapped up, I believe, about 2 days ago here. So we'll get into that. Make sure you stay tuned for that episode. We have a lot more coming at you. Again, appreciate you listening. Make sure you subscribe and follow us on Instagram at Back4th Podcast. Like Matt always says, share your dog, share your cat, share your neighbor, and whatever. And Matt?
you know, pretty much what he said. Like, subscribe, watch, share, do what you got to do. More content to come. Back and forth.